fantastic voice. Not just a singing voice, but your talking voice. It's very unusual. It's like it makes you step back a little bit, like, oh.
I've actually, recently I was walking around in Boston and I went to a museum and this like older man walked up to me. I had no idea who I was. He was just enjoying the art also in the museum and started talking to me forever about my voice and then there was a college, some sort of trip to the museum, and then everybody started freaking out. And it was so cool just to have someone stop me about my speaking voice, because that had never happened to me before. I think because I was turned around and I have the mullet, so I could have been, you know, anybody. I could have been anyone.
It's a heavy voice.
It's a heavy voice.
You didn't always have a heavy voice, though. Like when my kids love Hannah Montana, by the way.
Yeah.
So when I would watch, your voice was different.
It's definitely changed. I kind of learned a lot about the voice and how our experiences affect our voice. I had a surgery in November on my voice. I had something called Reiki's edema, which when my doctor told me about it, he said, no one shy ever has this. This is for abuse of the voice. This is for people that talk way too fucking much. And usually this happens when you're like in your 60s or 70s.
How do I not have that?
I don't know. I don't know. Mine, I think, honestly, really, I started touring, you know, at probably 12 or 13. And not only was the adrenaline that you have after a show, it's not really the singing that affects your voice as much. It's afterwards. You're totally on, and then it's really hard to get that sleep. You stay up talking all night. Later, the talking all night turned into smoking all night, and now this is kind of where we're at. We got some dirt on her. You know, the voice can be like a face. It collects wrinkles and it tells a story. If you look at yourself and you go, oh, I didn't have this until this trip. You know, I sat out in the sun or I partied too much or whatever. Your voice does the same thing. It collects dirt.
It's very distinctive. Yeah.
Yes, it gives me away. I mean, I'm pretty much one of the only chicks in LA with a mullet, so that gives me away also.
Well, you're not in the right neighborhood. There's plenty of.
I know. I gotta dry out to the desert, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Go out to Joshua Tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Find the chicks that are tripping.
Exactly.
Yeah, with handmade tattoos.
I had a couple of those too.
But there's something very distinctive about a voice you earned. You know.
It's true. It's kind of like, you know, when you see somebody and I think especially being like a female in the industry, I think growing up and changing and like kind of that there is such a kind of stigma with aging. It's a very kind of scary thing as a female in the industry. And I've thought about it a lot and thought about my voice. I actually had someone, when I was doing an interview a couple months ago, said, you know, she sounds like she stayed up all night smoking too many darts. And I said, well, I fucking have. And that's just the truth. And if, you know, that was anyone else, you know, it's kind of like you're weathered or you're aged or you've been through it. And, you know, we'll talk about it as we go, but there over the last year, I noticed a really big change in my voice, kind of a heaviness to it. And I experienced some heavy things. And so I feel like it is a reflection. It is kind of a scar in a sense. But also just by having the surgery was kind of a gift also, because I was able to understand my instrument. No one ever explained that to me. You know, I sat in a room with the piano and did scales and shit, but no one taught me about how do you have longevity? You know, you are in here with athletes all the time, and recovery days are the most important days. I didn't get recovery days. That was not important for someone that was making so much capital for such a big corporation. You know, the off days are days that money's not coming in, and I definitely probably didn't get the training that I needed to say, hey, you know what, I don't want to do this till I'm 15. I want to do this till I'm 80. And that wasn't always considered. Definitely not complaining. It gave me an amazing launch pad for everything I'm doing now, but I hear it.
But it had to be really odd to be working that much and be a young girl.
The balance it trained me to have is something that I don't think you are going to get taught any other way besides jumping in the deep end of the pool and hoping you know how to swim. That's the only way. There was no way I could have prepared for the amount of balance I would have to learn to kind of teeter, because, you know, at one point, again, it went from, it was school, then it went from, you know, how much weed can I actually smoke and still play a teenage superstar on the Disney Channel? and then like
what's the answer to that question?
More than you would fucking think. I remember one time when, and I don't smoke anymore, and I'm sober.
How long have you been sober
but
for?
I've been sober since pretty much the vocal surgery kind of did it for me, because I just learned so much about the effects, which again, you're just not taught. It's not really the drinking, it's staying up all night. You know, once you have your drink, you end up smoking. And I've become the face of a lot of things, kind of against my will, I guess, from my opinions. When you're someone in my position, your opinion becomes your identity. And it also becomes kind of almost like you kind of become this like preacher, or you become this, you know, they don't really let you just always have your own opinion. So I've decided to start telling people I live my own lifestyle. Alcohol was never my problem. There was other things that I end up, you know, I like to go up. So I now just avoid really drinking because I like to wake up at 110%. But it's never really been my problem. And I could see myself having a drink of celebration in the future. But I get so fucking hungover now that I'm like, why would I celebrate with like just feeling like a volcano's erupted in my brain, you know? So it's really just a personal preference, but it's definitely not anything that I promote in. I think it's a lifestyle I think everyone should experiment. It's a good time and you learn a lot of things about yourself and the people around you. But now I'm watching, I have younger siblings and they're going through that. And I don't know how my mom did it with me because it's scary.
Yeah, I think if we're going to acknowledge the fact that all these things exist, cocaine exists, pills exist, marijuana exists, we should teach people how to do it right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're leaving children. It's the same thing with sex, right?
Yeah.
We leave children to there's the information that they're going to get is from other kids.
Yeah.
And if you're learning about sex from another 14-year-old or you're learning about coke from a 14-year-old, that's not good.
Yeah.
Like we play this game with children where we try to pretend that, you know, they live in a movie.
All right, well, listen to this. It's actually funny you bring this up because I had the idea this week, not that I really have time to do this, because I don't like the idea that we teach them that this is sunshine world and everyone walks on a rainbow and everyone's equal. And you need to say, like, that's not. What are you going to do about it? That's not true. What are you going to do about it? And I think there's a way to not terrify children of life, even though I go in and out of periods where I think life is really overwhelmingly terrifying. And that's coming from my position. And my position, I tell myself all the time, if you're not enjoying this life, honey, you got it coming in the next one. Because I better fucking love this life. It's the best one. I couldn't imagine being in a different body and having a different experience.
It's an awesome life if you do it the right way.
It's an awesome life. And I didn't hurt myself beyond repair in my experiences. I survived.